As we move through history and there's the beginnings of emancipation in Europe, breakdown of the ghetto, do we see a similar phenomenon in the Islamic world?
Well, the Islamic world has the opposite. There's an Arabist called David Price Jones who wrote a book called The Closed Circle, and he made a great point. He said that it's sort of the Islamic world has gone in retrograde. It's gone backwards. You have a meeting point about 1,000 years ago when you have a switch over, when Europe moves out of the Dark Ages into the Renaissance, again largely helped by Jews in reintroducing classical knowledge and reawakening the humanistic spirit, and moving forward to the Enlightenment and the modern world of today. The Islamic world, which I know, because Europe is very self-flagellating. Look what we've done, the Islamic world. It's from the Crusades onward, really. The Islamic world has gone in the opposite direction, become more fanatically Muslim, with some exceptions, less open and less tolerant to foreigners and to minorities within their cultures. Again, I'm painting with very broad brushstrokes. Just different Islamic dynasties and countries treated their Jews differently. But it's not, by the way, because of Europe. It's not because of European aggression. It's one of those things we need to point out, that Islam is the greater aggressor historically. Fact. Islam, unlike Christianity, and I always point this out when I'm teaching, Christianity, we Jews don't believe in physical or spiritual conquest of the world. We believe in maintaining our particular identity and influencing the world as role models, whether we are in our own country or scattered around the world like a farmer scattering seed and fertilizing other civilizations. Christianity does not believe in physical conquest of the world, which doesn't mean that Christian kings like, Ferdinand, His Most Catholic Majesty of Spain, in the name of Jesus, taking over all of South and Central America and doing massive damage to civilizations and cultures that are there. But it's not a Christian imperative. Islam believes in the physical and spiritual conquest of the world. I would say more the physical than even the spiritual. Islam is less into converting people, primarily because if we keep them as dhimmi, we can tax them. Christianity was more interested in converting people. But so you have a different relationship with this idea of how we deal with other peoples that we conquer. And the Islamic world, since its inception, has been on the march physically. It overruns the Middle East. It takes over the Persian Empire. It takes over North Africa. It takes over Christian Spain. It's only stopped in 732 in the Pyrenees Mountains between Spain and France in the Battle of Tours, when Charles Martel, Charlemagne's father, wins one of the most important victories in human history. Had the Muslims won in that battle, they would have crossed the Pyrenees and taken Europe. And between coming from Istanbul in the east, from that side, and in the west, that could have been the end of Christianity. So the Crusades was largely a reaction to Islamic expansion, as violent and as brutal as it was against Jews and Muslims. It's that the Islamic world has really been on the march and been trying to conquer the Christian world. And I kind of went on a digression. I forgot exactly what question we're talking about now. I was explaining that's an attitude that, but basically, when we look at these two worlds, we see that the Islamic world, because of whatever external or internal factors are going on with the Islamic world, whether it's people like the Almohadis, who are Berbers, who are fanatically Islamic and not very cultured people, like when people become newly observant in a faith, they're often the most fanatic people. They're the most dangerous and intolerant. So you have waves of different groups of Muslims who are very, very fanatically into their religion. So what you see basically is that the Islamic world is going to retrograde into closed-mindedness and lose a lot of its openness to the contributions of other people, and a lot of its openness to science and mathematics, and basically go back into the Dark Age, where the Christian world, which is not locked in that closed circle, will advance out of it. And you'll see that the Jews will again be in a much better position to benefit from Europe opening up, opens up more opportunities and more tolerance towards them, while the Jews in the Arab world or the Middle East, wherever Islam is controlling, will generally find themselves often in a worse position.